follow him on the Twitter at JLP Talk. See, I'm not revealing yet because that's kind of like people who don't know him yet. They hear that and they say, "What is that?" But then if I say his next book is JesseLeePeterson.com, also RebuildingTheMan.com. He's a council activist, commentator. He writes for WorldNet Daily. Mr. Peterson, thank you for being here, sir.
I really appreciate you having me on. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. So first off, let me ask. I mean, this is something obviously you've kind of made the rounds. You've declared you're celebrating July White History Month.
I don't know if y'all remember, man, but when he told me that he started White History Month, bruh, let me tell y'all something. Let me tell y'all, it's almost like he wants for people to daggone come at him bad. Like he want the smoke.
Correct?
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely correct. July is White History Month for several reasons. Number one, July just feel white. You can feel it in the air. It's everywhere.
What? What does that mean? What does that mean? I would think like May, because you have the cherry blossoms. Those are very white.
Well, you have the 4th of July. Mm-hmm. You have vacation time. It's just a time to really go and hang out with family members. And it's a time to reflect. And because it's the birthday of the country, it's a time to reflect on this country and how far we have come, what whites have done to make America great. And so it's like and
that's the part right there. That's the part I talked to him about, man, because he say what whites have done to make America great. And that's the part right there that pisses people off. And I see why. Like, why you want to highlight the white people? I don't even like when people are highlighting the black people. Oh, man, and he black. And he black. He black and he the first. Who cares?
Appreciation Month.
Okay.
And another reason that I started it is because we have black history, we have homosexual history, we have Mexican history, we have Japanese, we have women history.
Yeah.
Everybody history but white Americans. And as you know, if it wasn't for white America, there would be no America.
Right.
And so, and every time you speak of white history, it's in such a negative, degrading kind of a way.
Well, I understand why. To be fair, it's because, white power has obviously been taken over by white supremacists, and so that was the nomenclature they decided to use, and so people get a little bit gun-shy about it. But your point is not lost on me with everything else, but let me ask you this. I mean, 4th of July, America, it's not only white people have contributed to America, including obviously black Americans, people of all stripes and colors. Why, and I am obviously a conservative Christian straight white male, why do you think of those things as kind of exclusive to white America?
Well, they're not exclusive. It's because of white Americans that we are able to celebrate the 4th of July. And so I really want to bring back the reality of white Americans because they have been under attack for so long now.
This dude, let me tell you something. Jesse Lee Peterson is a nice guy. He's a nice guy. Well, not according to this one dude that's trying to get me to talk to him over Zoom. We're going to vote for that. We're going to vote on that. I'm gonna do a poll on my YouTube community to see if I should have a conversation with this guy. Jesse Lee Peterson is a huge troll. You're a troll, Jesse Lee Peterson, and you're trying to piss people off. Stop it. Stop. You ain't got to be no black man taking up for no white people. Let the white people take it for the white people. That's what every black person that will ever hear Jesse Lee Peterson say this will be like, man, bruh, you really trying to start something.
It is, it's almost against the law to be a white, straight, conservative Christian male. You are hated by everybody and their mama. And it's just so amazing to me that if it wasn't for white people, there would be no America. Yeah. And so they're allowing the people.
You see how hard they are laughing at him in the day going, his producers laughing their ass off.
To come in, and even some that are born here. And when they get here, rather than becoming Americans, rather than showing their appreciation, they turn on the very people who made it possible for them to be here. And my other concern too, Stephen, is that these people of color are going to eventually, if we go down this road, continue down this road, they're going to take over the government. And if they take over the government, we're going to see happening in America what is happening in South Africa right now.
Well, they kind of did take over. They had office number 1 with a black president, and it wasn't exactly It wasn't a great 8 years, but it wasn't South Africa. So thank God for that. Let me ask you this, because I know you've been, and I appreciate that you're outspoken against identity politics from the left. And you talked about how you used to be a Democrat and you left that life behind you. I know a lot of black conservatives use the term sort of leaving the plantation, but yeah. Doing this, isn't this kind of playing into their hand, doing identity politics on the other side of the coin? Don't we just want everyone to be celebratory of America, regardless of race?
We do, and a lot of people are waking up again. They're waking up now because of White History Month. They're like coming out of this darkness, this sleep that most people are in, like, oh yeah, that's really nice. I remember I remember America now. I remember how we got started. I remember they're overcoming the fear of being white. The reality is white people are not allowed to be white. Everybody else is allowed to do what they want, and white Americans are not allowed to be themselves.
Yes, they are. Yes, white people are allowed to be white, Jesse Lee Peterson. And I'm speaking from a person that actually I like Jesse Lee Peterson. I like this brother because I can see his heart, be honest with you. I believe I can see his heart. But yes, they are. They are good with being white people. They are straight. They good. At least I think so. Now, are they being attacked for being white men? Yeah, that's only because a lot of people, and I'm be honest with you, a lot of people think that it's white men turn. Now, I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. But people think that it's white men's turn. It's their turn to be oppressed. They've already had enough. Everybody else can get help getting in colleges, but white people. Everybody could get help getting this, but white people. Listen, I got you on that, but it's no longer about black and white. It's about gender right now, and that's where we are. I think we actually moved on from race. In my opinion, that's just my opinion. Feel free to challenge me on that in the comments. I don't mind being wrong, but I think we've moved on from race, and we're dealing with genderism right now. We're dealing with all these different genders and many other things, dealing with that. Now, it seems like people are trying to take us back to race because that's a hot ticket item. Every single time we move on, somebody bring us right back to it. Not saying Jesse Lee Peterson is doing that, but it's happening. It's happening all over this daggone country. And people seem like they are looking for a race war. And I want no parts of it. I want peace, bro. I want peace. But people believe that there's no peace without war. And the Bible was about that too. I was talking about the Bible earlier today. And man, it's crazy. But no, I think the white people are just fine. They good with being white.
They can't have a white club at these universities around the country. They're not allowed to disagree with people of color. They are not allowed to do, when Obama was there, the fallen messiah, the worst president that this country has ever experienced was there, white Americans were not allowed to disagree with him. Yep. If you did, you were called racist.
Well, then that became sexist overnight when Hillary Clinton ran for president, right? Everyone went from being racist to sexist. But I wouldn't say fallen messiah because I wouldn't think that Barack Obama was a messiah to begin with. Certainly, he shouldn't have been. We both agree with that. So I wouldn't even give him that much credit. I would just say fallen that guy. I don't want to put him up on the pedestal to take him off. I just don't want to put him there to begin with. I understand.
Well, the reason I call him the fallen messiah because I interviewed over 200 or so black preachers during the when Barack Obama first ran back in 2008. Yeah, and they were calling him. They were like, "Oh, he's sent by Jesus. God sent Obama." And I'm like, "There's no way God would send the son of Satan to run the country." Yeah. Because Obama, I said to them, Obama is Jeremiah Wright Jr., Louis Farrakhan, Jesse Jackson, the NAACP, Al Sharpton, and all those guys wrapped up in one. And if he is elected, this country will live to regret that. And so they later found out that he really wasn't sent by God, but he was sent by Satan. So that's why I call him the fallen Messiah.
Right. Now, do you think ever you might run into some murky, because I know you're a controversial figure, might run into sort of blurring the lines, because I know you're using the term son of Satan. I know you're using this, you don't literally think that Satan mated with someone and had Barack Obama, but you mean that he comes from an evil ideology. But do you think that sometimes when you take something that's very literal, meaning priests did literally say Obama was sent by God, and we totally agree that's completely off the beaten path. But then if you take something that's literal from them and then apply a figurative son of Satan, it kind of murkies the waters, and then the conversation becomes to your term, which wasn't meant as they took, and then you just get off the rails. You ever get concerned about that?
Well, you know, what I've come to realize is that our battle is a spiritual battle.
Right.
It's a warfare between good and evil.
Yes, that's where I am. It's a spiritual battle, a warfare between good and evil. Like inside my comment section right now. Tim, what you said about Jesse Lee Peterson, I believe there's some truth to that. I don't think that Jesse Lee Peterson liked black people as much as he liked white people. That's it. He picked a side. The unfortunate thing is you don't have to pick a side. If you're watching this video, you don't have to pick a side. It's not about that. It's not about that. Like, we can love each other. We can learn each other. We can grow with each other. We can lift each other up. As soon as we start tearing people down, especially because we got differences of opinions, that's when the issue comes in. But when we tear people down because of their race, then you know you're just ignorant as hell and you stuck in the past. You need to move forward. All right, because some people get so stuck that they're not helpful anymore. Because, not saying that you should be a progressive or anything like that. You don't have to put a name on it. A lot of people like to put a name. I'm a progressive. I done moved on from everything. You can't move on from everything, because then you're moving on from God too. You're moving on from every single thing that you was taught about your spirituality and your teaching, those teachings, and that's changing every single thing. It's just not a good place to be with that type of mentality.
We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against spirits and principalities of wickedness in high places. We are a spirit. And so there are those folks who are sons and daughters of God, so they're of him. And there are those who are sons and daughters of evil, the prince of darkness, which is Satan, and they're of him. And I call them the children of the lie. People like the liberal media, the Democratic Party, the never-Trumpers, the rhino Republicans, they are children of the lie. And so we do have this battle going on. It's not a physical battle. It has nothing to do with racism, sexism, homophobism, Islamophobism. It's either right or wrong or good or evil. And so what I'm trying to do is to get the people who are on the side of good to change the language. We can't communicate in the same manner that the children of the lie communicate, because if we do, we're never going to overcome the lie with the truth. Yep. And so the truth is we are fighting against people who are on the side of evil. And Obama was one of those people. Yeah, well, here's the thing. I think we agree on most things, certainly as it relates to Barack Obama. The guy who voted present when it came to saving babies that were surviving botched abortions in Illinois and being thrown into waste paper bins is not someone who is sent of the God that I serve or you serve. That being said, and we both agree that's evil, and Planned Parenthood is evil, and the current DNC agenda, I believe, is absolutely evil. But I wouldn't put necessarily Ted Cruz supporters, never-Trumpers, in the same camp as the Planned Parenthood people, as you just kind of did. I think it's important to delineate. You know, like, I don't think that Ben Shapiro, who's not necessarily a never-Trumper, or even, I forgot the guy's name. Anyway, so take the people from NRO. I wouldn't put them in the same boat as Nancy Pelosi. Don't we think that that's important to delineate? I absolutely agree. And I wasn't thinking of Ted Cruz or Ben. I know Ben. Ben is a good friend. As a matter of fact, Ben owed me a lunch. Okay. Because we had a bet that he said that Trump would lose, and I said he would win during the primary. So he owed me a lunch. Ben is a good guy.
Just make sure it's not on Saturday. You won't be getting that lunch on Saturday. He shuts everything off.
False promises.
Yeah.
That's right. So I'm thinking of those people who are fighting against the Great White Hope, President Trump, tried to deliberately keep him back. The president has put the country first. It's apparent that he's about putting the country first. But yet there are those who are the Never Trumpers who are I guess they're just kind of out there, and they're working overtime trying to undermine what the president is doing. And those are the people that I'm referring to.
Okay, all right. I'm glad that we've clarified. And even then, I would disagree in the sense that even if they don't like President Trump, I would certainly separate them from, let's say, Christian conservatives who don't like Trump's demeanor versus liberals who want to actively kill babies in the womb.
Absolutely.
And I know you've talked too a lot about obviously sort of this ties into the straight white male issue, but fathers and just the idea of masculinity in general. We talk about that in the show, and that's your website is. Sorry, I got dry there. Rebuildingtheman.com. We don't have a ton of time, but fill people in on that and where you line up and why you think it's important.
For the last 28 years, I started an organization called Bond, the Brotherhood Organization of a New Destiny. And what we are doing is rebuilding the family by rebuilding the man. There is an order to life, and that order is God in Christ, Christ in man, man over woman, and woman over children. It's a spiritual order. And when I was growing up, we understood that order and lived it to the best of our ability. But that order has switched now because so many children are born out of wedlock, especially in the black community. To black women who are born in this country, 77% of the children are born out of wedlock, according to the Washington Examiner. But what's happening, Stephen, in the family, when you don't have that father there, the mother is angry because it's difficult for mothers to raise children on their own, boys and girls. And so it takes the father and the mother. And so what happens is the mother is angry and she is imposing that anger on her children. And so eventually the kids start to resent the mother because they can't handle that pressure. They become angry.
Something important to note, by the way, single mothers are actually more likely to be statistically abusive than single father households. A lot of people don't know that, both emotionally and physically. Karen Strawn was on the show and talked about that. And, single parent households are not good on either direction.
That's right. And so what happens, though, when the kids become angry at the mother, they become like her. They take on her identity because you become like whomever you're angry at. If you notice, the average black man, not all, but most, act like a woman. He think, feel, and act like a woman. He's very angry. And that is because he lost his identity and took on and became like the woman that he hated, and that's his mother. And so when they go out into the world or when they're dealing with other human beings, they deal with it the way a woman would deal with it and not logical the way a man would deal with it. And so what we're doing is showing them how to overcome that by going to their mothers and forgiving the mothers for what they have done to them, because a lot of mothers don't realize what they're doing or they can't help it.
Right.
And so when you go to your mother and forgive her, then God will forgive you, and he will take the spirit or the identity of your mother away from you and give you back yourself, which is not of the feminine spirit, but of the masculine identity, right? And now you can operate and love in the right way because...
Here's the one beef I have with Jesse Lee Peterson. The one beef I have with Jesse Lee Peterson is, and I think he's an amazing man. I really do. And I get why people believe that he has issues with black people, because he always point black people out, especially, and it does not always come from a point of love, in my opinion. Because if it did, he wouldn't put them out there every single opportunity he had to talk, because he know the people who follow him, they love hearing these points. It's certain points that he make, and it shows his consistency. And just because it shows his consistency, it does not mean that he has some type of love for them or some type of great feeling for them, that he's just so passionate about it that he has to bring them up every single time. He do not have to bring up race in conversations every single time. Steven Crowder never brought up race. Jesse Lee Peterson brought it up like 4 different times. And that right there is an issue. Regardless if you want to call it an issue or not, it is. Like, If I was to bring up race every single conversation we had, you would be like, why are you always bringing up race? Simply because you know that that's not my brand. And you also know that I'm trying to learn some things that you already have information on. Like, I'm trying to learn some new things. So in a few times you might feel like, look, we aren't quite acclimated to your way of thinking yet. So calm it down until you get some more stripes. And once you get some more stripes, then you can say whatever you want. You can bring out whatever you want to say. Here's the thing. People respect this man. And by him always bringing up race and bringing it up negatively about black people so often, it comes off as if he don't like black people. Now you can say now, if some people are saying that it seems like he hate black people, and some people are saying no, he just love them so much that he got to go hard. He takes off the daggone kitty gloves and he want to be serious about it. You know what? Both of you are right. Because nobody can tell you that what your perspective is wrong, your vantage point is wrong, your view is wrong, because your life has been different than ours, than mine. My life has been different than yours. I'm going to see some things different than you. So what he's saying is subjective. All right. Now you can say he's 100%, but that's only based off of your view and your point. But when you come from a black neighborhood, if you grew up in a black neighborhood, and you listen to him talk like he's talking, you will see exactly what somebody of color would say when they is talking about him hating or him seeming like he hate the black woman. Me, I'm a little bit more objective. I like to give people their chance. I like to give you a chance and let you talk, let you speak on it. But there's been so many times where I've heard him have conversations where I reacted to him and he say the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. So it tells me that, yeah, he believes it, but it's also part of his thing. It's part of his brand, okay? And when it's part of your brand, that's when it becomes a little dangerous, because that means that no matter what new information you take in, you're not going to shift at all. Now, this is important because this is not his religion that you're shifting from. This is not spirituality that he's shifting from. It's just a way of thinking based off of understanding new information that come to you. That's it. People see a black man talking about black people and they automatically assume that he know what he's talking about. He don't spend a whole bunch of time around black people. That's the thing that y'all don't realize. He don't spend any time in the hood. He's never lived in the hood. He has never lived in a hood. It's a huge difference from living in a black neighborhood where people got houses and they're spread apart with their families versus living in a hood where you're stacked on top of each other, or the buildings are stacked all over the place. Everybody's outside all the time. All the action is outside your window. Concentration is not that great in those type of neighborhoods. Being able to concentrate, not that great. All right. Being able to stay out of trouble, not that great. Being able to not being promiscuous, not that great in those neighborhoods. So all them things need to be taken into consideration, which he does not take those things into consideration all the time. A lot of people don't take those things into consideration because they have not lived that before. And they automatically believe that based off the statistics that they are receiving from their favorite news source, that they understand more than the people who are living that life in that world. And that's not the case. So yes, he and I had a remarkable conversation, and like even offline. And he's a good dude. I don't think he's a hateful guy. Same thing I told the dude that keep on calling me like, Van, we need to talk. I got a lot of bad things that I need to tell you about because I know for a fact, I know this brother, I know this, and I know that. And I'm going to tell you all the dirt. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do with that dirt that you give me? What's the point of that? Even with the people that's trying to bring me dirt on Jesse Lee Peterson, I'm like, what's the point of that? How is this going to help anybody? Because people need to know. People already are making their assessments already. They're making their assessments. You give me more dirt to put on his name, more smut to put on his jacket, it's going to help. Well, how? So I'm talking to you like, well, what makes you qualified to say that somebody is a bad person? And I'll say that to anybody, any of you. What makes you qualified to say that anybody's a bad person? Well, it's textbook, because a good person does this and a bad person does this. It's not that black and white. I'm just saying. The best of the Lord, the best lawyers in the world ever, they play within the gray area a lot.
That order is back.
I think that's a good way to leave it. There are some things there that I think I mostly agree with and some things that I don't, but I do think it's important that people understand the complementarian of the idea that Jesus was really the first feminist, not as we know now, but in the sense of love your wives, be good to your wives. And a big part of being a man is owning your actions, is being honest, being straightforward, and yes, loving and treating your wives with tenderness and care. And by the way, that means staying with your wife. So, hey, look, it's rebuilding the man.
That means staying with your wife.
June for White History Month because Father's Day is in there. You know, there's more intersect. You brought it up. I didn't.
That's homosexual month. You can't have that month. It's already taken.
Well, but that doesn't make sense. Father's Day and the Gay Pride Month. There's a whole lot of. I'm so lost. That is just.
Yeah, June is already taken.
JesseLeePeterson.com and rebuildingtheman.com. Thank you so much for taking the time, sir. I wish you the best.
I appreciate you having me on. God bless you.
That was good. All right, so Finn says, of course he talks about black people all the time. He wants to point out the flaws so they can overcome them and become better people and live better lives according to the Bible. That sounds good, you know, and it sounds passionate, and it sounds spot on. But everybody don't buy that, and everybody don't hear it that way. And if you were a black man from where I am from, you will understand my point of view. But since you're not going to understand my point of view. As smart as you are, I'm trying to tell you, and you're a young person too, you will not understand my point of view. But I don't want you to. I don't expect you to. Understand what you can. Just be objective in listening. Even when you say what you're saying, I'm going to be objective in listening. I want you to think about that just for a little bit. Exactly. He shouldn't generalize. He's biased and only towards black people. And it seems like that way. But he's biased towards leftists. He's biased towards white people too. He just like to point out black situations. He never talk about hillbillies. He never talk about stuff like that. Thomas Sowell did. And Thomas Sowell also let us know that they were actually on the same playing field as black people back in that day. But they got a little bit more, a little bit more love because of their skin color, of their skin tone. That's it, man. Like I try to be as fair as possible, but sometimes you cannot be. One thing I would never try to be, and I want y'all to listen to me when I say this, I would never try to be someone who knows it all. Because you cannot know it all, okay? One thing I won't do, I'm not going to debate with anybody based off of subjectivity. Like what you understand, what you believe you understand is what you believe you understand. What I believe I understand is what I believe I understand. We can still be friends and show love and all that other stuff. We can share drink and food. We can relax. We can chill. All those things. As long as there's some respect there. But there has to be some objectivity. I cannot be cool with anybody who are not objective, because some people have drawn their line in the sand and said, I'm not stepping over there with them liberals. I'm not listening to that leftist. I'm not listening to that rhino. I'm not listening to that conservative. I'm not listening to that MAGA. But the reasons mean something. All right. Now, the reasons can also be used as an excuse, which a lot of people do. A lot of people use those reasons as an excuse to always be a victim. I don't allow people to be victims either, not around me. I get on people's nerves all the time. I'm talking about real world, real life. I'm not talking about on camera. I'm talking about real life. I get on people's nerves because I hold people accountable. Wednesday, you gave me this, Finn. You gave me this. Thank you so much, Finn. This was dope.